Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Vino Frankel at Taste of Sculpterra, episode 13, the weekly podcast, the Sculpterra-centered podcast that I bring to you every week. We record it. It's now going up on Thursdays. That's something new we're doing, and I think that's working well. So thank you for tuning in, for watching it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to receive notifications when these are up and on YouTube. This is also on Apple and on Spotify as well. If you want to watch it, you gotta watch it here on YouTube. So thanks for being a part of it. So today's show, I've got two guests. I've got Pablo Marlen for the first time on the podcast.
Hello.
Thank you, Pablo, for being here today.
Glad to be here.
And it's returning, Mr. Kusko. Mr. Brian Kusko is back.
Back in it.
It's Brian's second time on the podcast. So he's last time he didn't get to share his story, how he got into the wine business and where he came from, where he's going and all those good things. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. First up, what's going on with winemaking and vineyard work. Now it officially feels like harvest is over. The season's winding down. We were just noticing at the winery, all the bins are put away. Everything is clean, tidy. The tanks are empty. Everything's back in order. It feels great. We bottled last week. We successfully bottled Mourvedre, Héroe Cab, and a custom label for another client, which worked out really well. But it was a long bottling day. There was more complications than normal, right, Pablo?
No, we had some challenges. Yes, opportunities.
Yeah, you think about it. The bottling truck is at a different winery every day, so they can't afford to break down. They can't have problems because it leads to the next day and they have to be somewhere the next day. So typically the bottler's on it, everything's working, but I think it was just lots of unexpected problems were occurring. It was supposed to be I thought it was going to be a 7-hour bottling and it ended up being 10 hours of bottling to get everything completed. We did 1,975 cases. So
1,975 cases?
Yes, that's times 12 to get to the bottles.
I'm almost blown away by the number of cases of wine that are produced in this county. It blows me away.
Where does all of it go?
Where does it go? Who's drinking all that wine?
But yeah, the bottling, now the next bottling is in February. We have two bottlings. February 17th, on my birthday, we're bottling Viognier, Héroe Viognier, Sculpterra Viognier. And then the previous week, February 10th and 11th, we've got 6 wines that we're bottling at Sculpterra. So we're bottling 8 wines in February. That's the next big job for us.
6 wines in one day? How long is that going to take?
Yeah, that's going to be... it's 6 wines over 2 days.
Okay.
We're doing 4 wines one day and two big lots on the second day.
Gotcha.
So
Count me in for that job. Love doing it.
Yeah, it's actually nice to bottle back-to-back days because they leave the bottling truck there after the first day, and so it just feels like there's less to do the following day. It's we have to spread out our bottlings throughout the year because we can't do it all in 1 week, 2 weeks, and then certain wines age for different periods of time. So certain wines we bottle right away, certain wines we age for up to 2 years. So yeah, the bottling's complete. It feels like I could take a breath and kind of start to reflect on the wines we made in 2025. So right now I'm putting together our blends for 2025. So as soon as the wines finish malolactic fermentation, we add SO2, we pump them out of barrel into a tank, we return them back to the barrel. Well, we clean the barrel, get the lees and sediment out, or then return the clean wine back to the barrel, and then put a solid bung in it, and now we're just letting the wines age. We top the barrels every 6 weeks. And then as that happens, I'm tasting and I'm figuring out our 5 blends. We've got Make a Focus, Figurine, Statuesque, Maquette, and Reposé. And I'm figuring out which barrel lots are going into which. I'm tasting the wines early in the morning and planning it out. And I try to make the blends as soon as I can. As soon as we rack the wines, I'm putting together the blends because we're going to bottle those wines in the future. And I'm figuring out when they're going to be bottled. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun to produce the blends. We've got 180 empty barrels. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but
Really?
Yeah, so we're steaming our empty barrels. So we had 180 leftover barrels from the harvest and from the bottling that we just had. That emptied about 100 barrels, and now we're maintaining those barrels till next year. But the used wine barrel market is so poor right now. I thought I could sell barrels because we have an excess of used barrels. The used barrel brokers are buying barrels for $5 a barrel, $15 a barrel right now.
There's an overabundance.
Yes, yeah, they don't pay you a lot for empty wine barrels, so it makes better sense to just hold on to these barrels because these are once used, twice used, American oak, French oak. These are in good shape, So we'll just. It's hard to store everything. Like every winery that's ever existed, you run out of storage. So we're trying our best to store the wines we just made and empty barrels in preparation for next year. But yeah, there's a lot of empty barrels on the market, which has driven the price down substantially.
I looked up bung while you're talking. Bung is just such a fun word. I wanted to know what we talked about before, but I just wanted to know where does this bung come from? And it's Middle Dutch. Meaning a stopper plug or swelling.
Oh,
initially.
that thing.
So,
okay.
Yeah, the little bung. So I'm like, how do we get this? How do we get this bung?
Well, we have the bung hole, which is the hole of the barrel, and you take wine out of the bung hole and you seal it with a bung. But we have fermentation bungs, which allow the wine to breathe during malolactic fermentation or during fermentation in general, and then you put a solid bung you use a solid bung when the wine is now just aging. All right, well, Pablo, I wanted to go over to you. I wanted you to tell the folks kind of. I know you have a big story, and you've done a lot of different things in your life. I've known you. Feels like I've known you all my life. I know you used to own a coffee shop, and my band played at your coffee shop. So that was my first introduction to you, and I was just a high schooler.
That's still great memories from that time.
Yeah, but you could share. I wanted you to focus on how you got into the wine business.
Yeah, and just listening to you talk about all the activities. I love the culture of wine and the local culture of Paso Robles. Just the trivia of these names for these little tools that you use for the wine and organizing all your blends, your 5 blends. And I don't know if any other winemaker anywhere that is as busy as you are and as organized as you are. You got so many things going on. Of course, you have a big team to help you, but it's mind-boggling. I appreciate that. But yeah, I got started. I came to the area in 1979, came to Cal Poly, got my engineering degree, and I had a motorcycle. So I would get on the bike in San Luis Obispo initially and cruised around the wineries in that area. And this is before the helmet law. So open air, no helmet, doing wine tasting. Kind of sounds wild, So I try to keep it at maybe 3 or 4 wineries, not too many. And since that's where we lived, I thought, let me get to know the area. So that's what I started doing. And one experience that opened my eyes was I was at, I think, Corbett Canyon Winery, excuse me, in San Luis. And I was by myself tasting wine at the bar, and there was just another couple. And I was commenting, oh, this is nice. Ooh, I like this one. Oh, this is a nice wine. And I not really knowing what they were. So the couple next to me, they were on a honeymoon trip coming back from Napa, and they had a trunk full of wine. So as we were leaving together, he says, hey, I want to show you something. So we come to his trunk. He opens up. He's got cases of BV and all the big names from back in the 80s. And he opened up a bottle of BV Beaulieu Vineyards Cabernet, which was at the time about 4 years old. He opens it up for me, and he pours me a glass. And when I'm drinking that wine, I can hear birds singing, I can see rainbows. It was an amazing experience.
Wow.
So I thought I knew what I was saying inside the tasting room. So then I wanted to explore more. And over the years, kept coming up to Paso, and there was very few wineries back then. Maybe 5 or 6 or 7 labels, And I went to the first wine festival, the Paso Robles Wine Festival of 1983 in May.
At the downtown park.
In downtown park. So I'm sitting there with my girlfriend and another couple, and there was about 20 wineries in the park, 5 or 6 local labels, and then we had wineries from other areas, San Luis and so on. And it was just that whole experience, like being in Italy or Spain or Portugal, people pouring freely. And in fact, we drank too much that day. And so a bunch of people were just lying in the grass taking a nap because we drank too much wine. But I just wanted to keep exploring, and got to meet some of the owners, and became friends with some of the families that own vineyards. So I just became my hobby back in the mid '80s.
Wow.
Yeah. And then worked for Meridian for a season between jobs. Learned from they called him Mr. Chardonnay. Charles, I forget his name. He was a winemaker for Meridian.
Okay.
And learned a lot from him. And then a year after that, came on to Sculpterra in 2012. And my family was visiting in town, a bunch of siblings, and my mom was in town. And I took them wine tasting to several wineries. We ended up at Sculpterra. And Dale, who's no longer working there, but still a friend of the family. So she poured for us, and we connected so well that she says, "Hey, Pablo, you need to be on this side of the bar working for us." And I was open to that with my wife, and so I started pouring on the weekends, and loved it.
I thought when you first came to Sculpterra, you had told me you were doing a touring company, or you were trying to start a wine tour bus.
Oh, yes.
And we were trying to work out some arrangement. You would come on certain days. We'd charge
That's
people a certain amount.
That's right. Yeah. With my wife, she worked for the city of Paso, and she was a marketing coordinator. So she put out in the booklet an offering to do a wine tour. And so seniors signed up for this wine tour, and we did 3 stops. We did a stop at midday where we had sandwiches. Then we did a second winery where we had snacks, like a charcuterie, nibbles. And then we did a third stop at Rhoda, which is known for their dessert wines, or was at the time. And that was our dessert stop. And the people loved it. We did 2 tours, and then we just, it was too much to do, with our regular jobs. But people received it well, and it was a talking tour. And riding on the bus between destinations, we were talking about the history of Paso. And, I love history, especially local history. We were living in Cherry Meadows in Templeton, and I found out that it used to be Elmer Cherry's dairy farm, so which became Cherry Meadows. And a lot of people didn't even know that. So I would explain, I was driving through these country roads, this is who lives here, and this is the history of these immigrants, and the first vineyards planted. So, yeah, people appreciated that. And maybe there's an opportunity to do that in the future again.
Yeah, and at Sculpterra, you do a lot of the outside pourings, which we're really thankful that you went down to Camarillo last year and some of these wine festivals and things. And you do such a good job with that. Later on this podcast, we're going to taste 4 wines. Typically, we only taste 2, but I thought because Brian had mentioned that he would like to do more of a proper wine tasting on the podcast.
Or for noobs.
Proper
wine for noobs.
Proper wine tasting.
I think what I said specifically was like, for somebody who has no idea what they're talking about when it comes to wine, and I ask them, quote unquote stupid questions. I don't know.
Right, and because Pablo pours at the tasting room and does outside pourings and special events, Pablo presents wine really nicely, and he can, we pour for people all the time in the tasting room that maybe they have lots of experience tasting wine. Maybe it's their first time trying wine. So we're going to go through a longer wine tasting today. We're going to try Sauvignon Blanc, Grenache, Cab Reserve, and Petit Syrah. So a light body, medium, white wine, light red, a medium bodied red, and then a nice, heavy, intense, full bodied wine at the end of the tasting. So, all right, Pablo, I had a question for you because you're one of those guys like me who likes your Cabernet a little green, a little bit on the peppery, dare I say, vegetative side. A lot of people in Paso, they want everything as fruity as it can be, like fruit bomb, jammy, raisin, plum, cherries, just fruity. But a traditional Cabernet, from France, Napa cabs, they have that hint of green, which brings freshness and spice.
Yes, I really enjoy that. You don't get that in too many cabs in Paso, and this property, the Sculpterra, the Frankel Ranch, it produces great intense flavors. And when you get that vegetable note, it's just an extra added layer of flavors on top of the blackberry, dark cherry, and the spice and the tannins. You get this, like you said, refreshing green, almost bell pepper note, but in a good sense.
Right. I think winemakers are taught in school to get rid of those flavors. And the reason and how you get rid of those flavors is just pick the grapes when they're as ripe as possible and there's less methoxypyrazine, there's less pyrazines and more methoxypyrazines, and that's that green flavor, and methoxypyrazines are the fruity flavor. So anyways, we're taught, to eliminate that green flavor, that get the grapes riper, higher breaks, higher sugar. But so like Pablo just said, there's not a lot of Cabernet that has that in Paso because they're all trying to get the grapes as ripe as they can. But like naturally, Cab, especially Cabernet Franc, has that green note that is a nice element and adds complexity to the wine.
A question on that point. So, do you purposely keep more stems in the crush?
No, I've messed around with that a little bit. I just try to not, pick the grapes. Picking the grapes in different stages. I've talked about this a lot. It really makes a difference. So we pick some of the Cabernet, we pick it early, and that'll have that maybe that green note is the dominant flavor. And then the Cab that comes in at the late end of the season, that's going to be the really fruity tasting Cab. And then you blend them together and it's balanced and works out. So yeah, you get plenty of green notes just inherently in the Cabernet grape. Okay. But yeah, if you're picking raisins, then that flavor is diminished and the raisiny, ripe, jammy characteristics are accentuated for sure. Okay, Brian Kusko, you've been at Sculpterra. Has it been 2 months?
I don't think it's been 2 months yet. I think it's been a little over a month.
Yeah, you started. I met you through ABC Church, through Pastor Jeff Erkey, and you filmed our Grenache harvest video. And then you've done a lot of videos for us, which has been awesome. I love it, and we're gonna keep going. We got lots of ideas. But yeah, why don't you share how you got into the wine business?
All right. Well, I'll show you some stuff that you don't know yet, because there's some of it you obviously know, because you're pretty much my in point. But when I did first move to the area back in 2015, I have cousins that grew up here, and one of my cousins actually drove, kind of doing tours like you were talking about, Pablo, driving people around, and he really knows the area well because he grew up here, as well as got to know the industry really well, because he's one of those guys that, like, you meet him and he's like just one of those guys that you like kind of want to have around, because he's always trying to do things for people and always try. I mean, he also does plumbing, and he'll go fix an old lady's thing and like just give her like some candy as the bill or whatever, just like one of those type of guys. So like people like to have him around. So he got to know a lot of folks. So when I first moved here, he kind of took me on like little private wine tours, because he knew all the routes and he knew that like he had the codes to get into like law and stuff. And he was just like, we're gonna go in here. And I was like, nice, wow. So I kind of got that when I first moved here. Got to see like some of the back roads and like some of the inner workings of the wine industry. But then that was it, just a little bit with him. And they didn't really dive into it, didn't like go around doing a lot of tasting or anything. Well, I've always done video since I lived here. I started my first YouTube channel back in 2015 when I first moved to the area. And so I've always been doing that. I built this YouTube channel, which I need to have you on my channel at some point so we can do a cross collaboration. I can put links for this podcast down the thing and like get, that whole cross collaboration going. But I definitely want to do that with you on video. I've obviously done a couple on my channel that you've seen where I've walked around and kind of talked about how I got there to my audience. But I want to have you on and like do like I don't know what style, but some type of like vlog, or just talking about your story in the winery and how you got into it. That would be really cool. So I had that, and I became part of the church about 4 years ago, or became a believer about 4 years ago, maybe a little longer than 4 years ago now. And in that, started becoming more plugged in with people in the community. Right. Before I was just kind of doing my videos and didn't really know a whole lot of people. Then once you come to the Lord, that comes with the church as well, right? And then I just started meeting so many amazing folks. And the more and more as I built more local community, our prayers started becoming, as our family, like to have more local work and video work, because a lot of my video work takes me across the country to different places, different reptile shows and whatnot. Oh, okay. And really wanted to kind of start doing stuff more locally. So we've been praying about what does that look like. You know, I know plenty of buddies now that could potentially have video stuff, but like Paul mentioned, I'll tell you this part because you don't know, but I went to go do a video with our lead pastor at the winery in the vineyard.
I saw that.
You saw that?
That was impactful.
I am the
love
vine,
that.
you are the branches. We were
Yes.
going through the seasons and
Yeah, he was doing a teaching on Colossians, and he just asked me, "Hey, Brian, he knows I do video stuff, obviously, because I've done other things for the church." But
That flowed so well. It's really nice.
yeah, so he was like, well, "I want to go, early morning. I've got this buddy that makes wine. We used to play music back in the day, and like, I want to talk to him about how he cultivates grapes, and I'm going to tie that into the teaching because Jesus is obviously always talking about, using wine and vineyards as analogies because they're so great for that."
Psalm 104, verse 15. He makes wine that gladdens the heart of man.
Yeah, I always think it's also interesting that he showed his first miracle was me like, well, we got to make sure this party has wine. They ran out. we'll fix that real
He
quick.
started with that. Yes.
Yeah. So we came and did that video, and then Paul obviously saw it since he was in it, and then he liked what I did and asked if I would come do the harvest video that he mentioned a moment ago. And then I came back and we did that. A lot of fun. There's such great light with that. Just the tractor filling the backlighting. Like I love backlit shots. I nerd out on like good lighting, and that they definitely have that at the winery and in that moment in the field. So I gave him that video and he liked it. And then like a couple days later, just sent me a message, said, "Hey, crazy thing. We had like a position open up for a video guy. Why did you want a job?"
Well, you're such a good networker. I just met you a couple of months ago also, but you have that personality. You're open. You ask questions. Yeah. You look for, stories to share and to hear from other people. Yeah, that's a great connection.
I do like stories. And I asked him, I had been self-employed since I was 22, doing this video stuff and, professional musician before that. But I when he asked, "Do you want a job?" I was like, do I? I know my wife is more intelligent than I am, and she just looked at me. She's like, "This is a direct answer to prayer, Brian." She's like, yes, you want a job. We've been praying about this. I was like, "Yes, you're right. You're right.
Accept the blessing."
Well, yeah, we'll go check it out. And it's honestly, man, this last month, like it's been super fun. Like you never know how it's gonna go. I met you for a moment there, and like the laughter and like the jokes and just like the fun and like your drive is inspiring. Like how hard you work. You lead by example by being. I mean, you've seen it, so I'm sure for years now. He's just a hard worker.
Yes,
and like that's inspiring for me as well as like just being I felt like family immediately. And it's been really cool. I'm not gonna cry because, but I might. But honestly, it's been really really cool place to step into, and I've really enjoyed the time so far, and like it's been a huge blessing in my life. Even just the relationship that we've had just over the past month, and like the fun, like literally, I mean, we're cracking jokes every day, like laughing, and it's so much fun. Even though like we're working hard and having fun, it's such a cool balance. That's how work I think should be.
yeah.
It's like working hard but having fun at it.
Oh, plus he's always cracking jokes in Spanish too.
So I'm learning Spanish a bit.
Well, I remember, Brian, when I interviewed you, we had just one interview. I said, "Yeah, why don't you come out and just, or I think you maybe said, I want to see you in person. I'll take a look at what this job is." You came out, we're walking to the tasting room, and I'm showing you the visitor's guide, and I'm showing you the newsletters, and you say, "I can do that. I can do that. I can do that." Like it was like you were very confident, and I was like, I believe, like, yeah, I think you can do this. And then you're motivated, and then you wake up early, and like you get things done early in the morning, and that I think that is so key, like being able to like meet early in the morning, plan out the day. Get things scheduled, get things figured out, fix problems as they occur. I mean, it's a big job. There's a lot that you do. There's a lot that I do. There's just this business. There's a lot of moving parts to this business, and you just had the confidence and that desire that like if you didn't know how to do it, I could see that you were gonna figure it out. Like so there's people that get frustrated with something and they reach a dead end and they give up. But I can see like you were, if you didn't know how to do it, you would learn how to do it. And I was like, awesome. Definitely think God brought you here and the relationship, and it's
Answered prayer.
It's been awesome. And like I wake up every day thinking, ooh, we could do this video together. Ooh.
Yeah, it's fun. I've got a whole list of ideas here I was going to talk over real quick. Just like maybe we can get feedback from people in the comments, like what type of thing they.
Yeah, actually, you can do that now. That was one of my follow-up questions with you was future video ideas. And I know we've talked about doing a drone footage over the tasting room to update. You know, now that our landscaping, our trees are so big, and the art wall and the photographic wall and the animal, the safari sculptures, you know, we can get all that with drone footage.
Yeah, I think figuring out how to fit that on the website is going to be a bigger challenge than getting the footage itself. Is like how to host that and where to host it. And I know the website's pretty massive. There's got to be some kind of trick of the trade. That's what comment up if you know something about hosting websites and like being able to fit large files without slowing down the site or without crashing the site, and something like a nice high quality drone shot on the opening homepage. If you know about that, like leave a comment below, because that's seems to be a mystery for a lot of people.
Yeah, we're all about the visuals at Sculpterra. I mean, if you've been there, you've seen massive sculptures, and it's hard to translate that. I mean, you have to visit our tasting room to really feel it, understand it. And people come back all the time and say, when did you add that sculpture? It's like, oh, we didn't add that sculpture. That's been there since the beginning. But there's so much to see, and it's hard to capture that in video and on photography. But I think we could do it, Brian. I think you can do it and figure out a way to host it. But people still have to come. I mean, no matter how we do video photography, you have to come visit in person and experience it.
That's what I tell people when I'm pouring at festivals or outdoor or offsite is, you know, here's a booklet, the visitor guide, which is beautiful, has the images. This is just a teaser. You have to go. It's a destination. It's not a place where you just add it to your list of wineries that day. You want to make that your focus and stay there half a day. Music and food trucks and gardens and hiking. Yeah, it's...
There's a simple fix to that, or there's a simple way to do that, is like having somebody next to it while you're filming it and showing it, like to see that size differential in perspective. You just have somebody walking by the sculpture as the drone flies over, and you can just see like this person next to this thing is like, well, they're tiny compared to the size of this thing. And to your point about like getting people to come to taste, I think that a lot of my ideas are based off of like wanting to just grow wine as a whole. You know, as you start to learn more, like I think there's this thought, like I know because I've had it, like it was like wine tasting. I've done a lot of whiskey tasting and done a lot of other things, but like when it comes to wine tasting, I think there's this like big front door that people that aren't into it feel. Maybe they're like, oh, it might be like out of my range, or it's out of my understanding, or like like you feel like maybe it's you know, it's, if you don't know stuff, then you can't like be part of it. There's something to it, I think, where people are intimidated if they don't know and they don't understand like how cool it is, which I'm learning is not necessarily the case. So some of my videos are just that, like wine myths, like that you don't need a trained palate to enjoy the wine, or that you're not wrong for liking sweet wine, or expensive wine doesn't mean better wine, or like what winemakers drink at home is an idea for a video, just showing like what you drink, or like if you like this type of thing, then maybe you might like this wine, like this certain food, if you like IPAs, or if you like coffee, or if you like, you know, make some videos, all these ideas for like short clip videos where you can like bridge that gap, like maybe wine without the snobbery is one of the ideas I had right here, like tasting wine in jeans and not suits, or saying I don't know, I can't, like having this moment where like I don't know, like maybe somebody can help me, because I think that anybody that's passionate about wine like yourself is wants to educate people, and I think that's you know, in order to educate people, you got to know what it is they want to know.
And then being in Paso Robles, it's a different vibe, a different culture than Napa or Sonoma, Mendocino. It's casual. The demographics are wonderful. There's country folk, horse trainers, cowboys, and then there's, you know, wine people. So all comers, it's a open, welcoming experience.
Yeah, you're talking about people's palates, like, and if they like coffee, they'll like this. Like, my wife loves dark chocolate, but not just dark chocolate, like 80% cacao, 90, you know, and then it's like, so I poured her Petite Syrah, which we're going to try, and she loved it. It's like, it's got that same flavor profile. It's like super intense dark chocolate. So exactly, like people who like certain foods, they'll definitely enjoy certain wines.
Oh, it's great preparing for big meals. Yes.
All right. Well, let's look at the Héroe label, which was recently put together. Thank you, Brian. Brian, there's our front label. Uga always stays on the front. He's the original Héroe. He retired in 2011, and we started the label in 2012, officially launched it. The back label, we switch out every year to my current vineyard and winemaking team. So my son's 11 years old now, Abraham. He's been on the label the last 4 or 5 years. And this year we did a Mexican flag and American flag with our awesome Mexican-American culture and our mix of ethnicities and backgrounds. So what's cool is I took some of these, and most were your pictures, right, Brian? I think I did the Chava picture and Angel, and I think you had all the others. So
I think you took the picture of Pablo.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you took my picture there.
Pablo Grande. Why are you Pablo Grande, Pablo?
Because you're Pablo Guapo.
I'm little Pablo. I'm pretty big too, but Pablo's taller.
I like that they're both positive differentiators. Not Pablo Pequeño.
And I've never had a nickname in my life. That's the first time I've ever had some kind of a nickname other than Pablo Cruz.
I think it was subconscious to me because you're on that label and you're like kind of bigger than everybody a little bit.
I remember that moment. And Paul says, "Hey, take these clusters and hold them up." So, that came out great. It's an honor to love that.
So we've got Chava, Salvador Chavez is his name. He works for AM Sun Solar. Shout out to Chava. You got to start listening to this podcast, Chava. And he was my Sunday help because it's always a struggle to get people to work Saturday, Sunday. I've had my workers work Monday through Friday. They're worn out. They work 12 hour, 14 hour, 16-hour days. To ask them to come back for the weekend is hard. So Chava, they got Roque and Angel they've been working for me all my life. Deanna and Ernesto, our husband and wife, they're really amazing. I think Pablo, you've seen them work together.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen a husband and wife get along in the work environment like they do.
That's
they are
unique.
remarkable. They both listen to each other, and they both take direction, and they both help and they're both patient with each other.
Yes.
I look at them and I'm like, I want to be a better husband.
You know what? That's a good point.
They're great together.
They are.
Well, I think you've positioned yourself well to do that, especially in this picture here, right between the two of them. Tell me all your secrets each year.
And they're different. Where Ernesto, Ernesto is more methodical, thought out. Where Deanna's more impulsive. She's a fast go-getter, hard worker. He's the mechanical, likes to tear things apart and get to the bones of it. And they're just great together. And then we've got Craig Wero, who's a white man. Craig listens to this podcast, so thank you, Craig. He's on his way up right now. He's coming to our Christmas party. We've got Matilde and Berenice. They've both been working at least 10 years on the property.
I learned how to spell Wedo because of this project. My entire life, I've thought that Wedo was spelled Wetto.
Pablo,
that's a challenge.
You got to know Rojo. Can you tell us a little bit about Rojo?
Oh, Rojo, great. I mean, his work ethic is like next level. His, every little detail, he double checks everything. And he's respectful of the equipment. So he, I've helped you out over the years, but he's taught me different techniques, and I'm open to that. I'll tell him, Rojo, how do you do this thing? And he's such he considers every little detail, and I'm amazed. Great guy. He
has a lot of winery experience. He's worked at a lot of wineries. Hector is the assistant winemaker, so he went to Sonoma State, and he had to do an internship to graduate, so he interned here at Sculpterra, and he's my wife's godson through First Communion, so he's technically my godson. I'm his godfather. And I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but there's a snake. So that's our hidden animal. When it's converted on the label, it'll look more black and white, so it might not be as noticeable. We got the punch on barrel
in the barrel.
Snake. Why'd you use a snake, Brian?
I can't imagine why I might have used a snake. I've never had snakes since I was pets since I was 4 years old. I've never been really into dinosaurs. I don't have a YouTube channel dedicated to snakes. I don't go to shows around the country
snake.
looking at snakes. Yeah, I don't know why I used a snake.
What kind of snake is that? Do you remember?
I just looked up snake. I think it's not.
It's a generic snake.
It looks like it wants to be a cobra because it looks like its neck is kind of hooding up. It's not. it's literally just a generic looking. That's not a real snake in that picture. It's just like a, it's a artist's rendition of a snake. But I think that spot is not hiding so well. I did like the idea of it kind of coming out of the barrel, but it also does kind of curve with the way that Hector's neck and chin are going. So I thought maybe it I don't know. I don't want Hector to get bit on the chin by a snake ever, and that's not why I put it there. It's just it seemed I don't know. There could have been but like you said, once it goes black and white, I think it'll be less noticeable. But I also made it kind of small so that it wouldn't just be like, oh, there's a snake on the label.
It's not in the wine.
I like snakes. I think snakes are super interesting. I've been interested in them since I was a tiny child, and they still fascinate me. So, hopefully Hector doesn't have a problem with snakes because it's right there in his face.
I think that's everybody. Did we talk about Frankie?
Not yet.
Theo Frank. So Frankie's really funny because he wanted to be on this label. He desperately wanted to be on the Héroe label, and I told him, all right, Frankie, you could be on the label, but you got to work a couple days during harvest. And once you work, I'll give you the official shirt, and then I'll put you on the label. Frankie's the president of the Hispanic Business Association in Paso, so he's really well loved and goes around the community, and everyone knows Frankie. Frankie's awesome.
He's got a big personality. He is a force.
Yes, and he also does outside pourings and loves to get our wine in restaurants and markets and things. So he's been helping us out the last year. So thanks everyone for being a part of this. And if you've got an Héroe wine, check the back label. We change it every year, and you'll see different. For the most part, we've got the same 4 or 5 folks that always return, but then there's always new people that help us out for that particular year. Well, let's move on to the event calendar. Thursday night, when this podcast is there on Thursday night, December 18th, we have our Christmas event. The place looks amazing. We've done more Christmas lights than we've ever done. We're getting close to plugging in too many lights, and we're going to throw the circuit breakers and blow fuses, but it's all worth it. It looks amazing. And the kids are really working hard to do the
beautiful
nativity story, the birth of Jesus, and the singing, the songs, and DJ. We've got 3 food trucks and carriage rides. A photo booth is happening now. So it's a lot. There's a lot happening. So please come out, 6 to 9 p.m. It's free. And we've got up next is January 15th, Manny's Pizza Winemaker Dinner. Please, I've talked about this a lot. It's food and wine pairing with pizza. It's really great. Amazing food. We've got our open house wine club parties, which those tickets are live. You can get your wine club members get 2 complimentary free tickets, and then you can buy guest tickets for $25 each. And the menu is posted too. It looks good. And my sister Faith and I are going to, in February, talk about the food and wine pairings and what you're going to experience when you come to that party. Then we've got our blending party, which we just got the menu for that as well. There's a salad and 2 entrees and a dessert. We're going to blend heavy wines. So instead of trying to blend, say, Cab and Syrah, we're just coming up with the biggest blend you can make using Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, Petit Syrah, and 2 lots of Cabernet. So you're going to get 5 wines in front of you, and you can come up with whatever conglomeration blend that you think of, and I'm the judge. I'm going to taste all the tables individually and vote on my favorite. The winning table gets to keep a bottle of that wine, which is really special. They get to keep a Magnum. Everyone gets a Magnum, a double bottle, and we label it for them. They come up with a table name, whatever fun name they want to do. We label it, cork it, wax it, and they walk away with the wine right there. So they can hold on to it for years to come, because this is 2025 red wine. So that's the whole point too, is that I want people to experience tasting young wine, because that's what winemakers do. They're barrel tasting young wine, blending, bottling, and then the wine maybe the wine stays in the barrel for years later, or they bottle it and the wine sits in the bottle for years until it's ready to be released. So it can be difficult for most people to taste young wine and blending young wine and come up and trying to think how it's going to evolve and change throughout time. But very fun, great experience. And like this podcast, I get really in depth, all the details. I answer questions, and I get really into grape growing, winemaking, everything with wine. It's from 12 to 3, February 28th. So it's the last weekend in February. And it's limited to 32 people. So please get your tickets today. All right, you guys, we're up to too much information. which is too much information about me, about my life. And Brian and Pablo, I wanted to ask them because I'm this way, right? I love routine. I'd love to have a routine. If I had my way, I would go to bed every day at 7:30, wake up at 2 a.m. and just hit the ground running and get to work, answer emails, type wine notes, spreadsheets. I have a whole list of stuff, wholesale orders, shipping wine, lots of things that I do on a day-to-day basis. But being on a routine is just really helpful for me to kind of just to plan. I plan out the whole year when I'm bottling, the crush, how much tons we're going to produce. I'm just constantly planning and thinking and trying to manage everything. So are you guys the same way? Do you guys like to be on a routine, a strict routine?
For myself, I'm a morning person. I wasn't until I had children, and I'm glad I'm a morning person to start with the day, the sun coming up, my cup of coffee, pondering the day to come, and going over my notes. So yeah, I'm a routine guy also. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But you know what? I'm retired from my career as an engineer, so I'm struggling with that transition. It hasn't settled yet.
Yeah. What about you, Brian?
I think if it wasn't for routines, I'd probably be dead. Because I'm kind of a fly by the seat of my pants type of guy, and like I got my father's propensity for the evening and my mother's propensity for the early morning. So I like a lot of my life I'd be up late and getting up early, and that's not really healthy. And I like honestly, like routines like brushing your teeth. Like I need to be in a routine of that. Otherwise, it'll all fall out. Like the only reason I have teeth in my face still is because of routines. Like, I sound like I may be joking, but I think I truly would be dead today if it wasn't for routines.
All right, yeah. So if comment below, what is your daily routine? See if it's as crazy as my daily routine. Well, we're into the animals in the vineyard, and we talked about snakes just a second ago because Brian's here, and Brian has a reptile YouTube. If you haven't looked up his YouTube account, please do. It's awesome. And he's a snake man and reptile man. Knows a lot about snakes. So I thought he would lead the discussion because we have snakes at Sculpterra. We have gopher snakes, king snakes, rattlesnakes. Those are our main three. You don't see them every day, especially this time of year in the winter. But in the summer, when it's 110 out, and it starts to get cool, 5, 6, 7 p.m., you'll see the snakes in the road. It's you see, because they can't regulate their temperature, right, Brian? They're whatever temperature is the ambient temperature, that's their temperature. So they can't be out when it's 110. They can't be out when it's freezing. They got to be at the nice 60, 70, 80 degrees temperature. So yeah, we have snakes all over the property, but you got to find them, and in the summertime is when we see them.
Yeah, Snake Man, you nailed it. One of my very first YouTube videos was I recorded a song called Snake Man about how I'm a snake man. it's still there. I've made many snake-related songs that are up on the channel, and I love that you have this little list here of like different things that you pulled up, because one of the things that like people who are really in the reptile industry and hobby, they just love to see people's information that they put out there, and you usually like look at these fact books about snakes, and you're like, well, nope, missed it, nope, wrong. One of the biggest ones is poisonous versus venomous. People call rattlesnakes poisonous, which they're venomous, and like science books will say this. I think they're getting better about it now in 2025. Okay. But if you look at any books from like even the 90s or like early 2000s, it's like, man, everything's wrong, which is hilarious. But as I'm looking through these things you put out, I was pleasantly surprised to see that most of this stuff is pretty factual. And you already pointed out the thermoregulation. If a snake puts on a sweater, it does nothing because they produce none of their own body heat like we do in this room. Right. We're starting to feel the sweat and maybe want to pull some clothes off. But it doesn't happen with snakes. They could literally be many layers on it, but they don't produce their own body heat. It's called ectothermic, where they rely, like you mentioned, on outside temperatures for their heat, and for their bodies to function properly, they need to be at the proper temperature, which they'll do by laying in the sun or getting out of it if it's getting too hot. And then, so you guys have all seen snakes flick their tongues.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that in particular.
So what are you?
Yeah, because they're using their tongue to sense, smell.
Yeah,
and
essentially it's smell. And it's forks that when they flick it out there, they pick up these scent particles in the air and they bring it back in and stick it in the roof of their mouth. This thing called the Jacobson's organ, and that sends their brain the signals. They can basically smell as well as a dog, or like 600 times better than we can.
Oh, really?
And because their tongue is like that, they can actually smell that. Like they use it a lot to like track trail scents or just really pick up any scent anywhere. Like, and because there's a fork going this way and a fork going that way, they can even smell what's left. They can smell what's right. Like going they can actually smell directionally with that tongue.
Now they have internal ears, is that correct? Or they don't have ears?
They have 2 of the 3 bones that make up the ear, so they don't have the drum. So they can pick up vibrations, but there's no ear hole. If you look closely at a snake, it's one of the differences between snakes and lizards is that snakes do not have an ear hole, whereas most lizards do. So I think if you had to take a guess at like how a snake hears, there was a big misconception that they're deaf, which they can pick up sound vibrations. It's just not the way that we do with our nice open ear holes. So I think a good theory would be is like, if you cupped your ears like this, that's probably like how a snake hears, because it's like they don't have the drum, but they can still pick up the vibrations in those other 2 bones that are part of the ear bones. And but yeah, if you did that, then you have a pretty good idea of probably what a snake is hearing. And then they're mostly solitary. That's correct as well. Ambush killing, and prey by constriction. They use venomous. Cowdo luring. That's a pretty cool one. You don't see all snakes doing this, but green tree pythons in particular will hang on the branch, and they've got their tails kind of slightly different colored, and they call them the caudal scales as it's down past the cloaca, which is where everything comes out from a snake, whether it's their reproductive organs or their excrement. It all comes out of that little flap, little cloaca. And past that are called the caudal scales. And so caudal luring is that tail. They'll move it around to try and attract something to come attack their tail, kind of like an anglerfish or something does. Yeah. And there's even a snake in the Middle East. It's like venomous snake that its tail is, when it moves, it actually looks like a spider. It like literally the way it wiggles it, like it's got all these little spikes going off it, and it moves it, and it looks like a little spider to attract a bird to come swoop down at it. And when the bird comes down to try and get the spider, it just bites it, and it's venomous, so the bird doesn't really stand a chance.
Wow, I'm learning so much. That's incredible.
The serpentine movements too. That I like that they have that the way that they move. That's one of the things that actually freaks people out the most about snake. Like if there's reasons that people are afraid of snakes, it's usually because of either worms or nightmares or there's a lot of obviously snakes are evil in culture, whether it's like through movies or they're even the Bible, like you're talking about the serpent, even though they're talking about Satan. Like there's a lot of thought of that, like it's actually a snake. So there's culturally, and then just the movement. Like the way that snakes move is often like, I just don't like the way it doesn't make sense. They have no arms and legs. How are they moving around? and they they kind of move like by pushing. It's a serpentine motion where they like push off areas of the ground. Like you can imagine if you're on the ground, you kind of push off stuff. They have so many muscles along their spine that they can move in that S motion, kind of push. And they also have a rectilinear movement. So if you looked at a snake, is basically a skull, a spine, and a bunch of ribs. That's the skeleton essentially. Right. And if you look at a snake moving rectilinearly or just like in a pretty much a straight line, which like some do, especially like a gaboon viper, if you looked at and could see their ribs without the muscles there, it would literally look like a caterpillar or a millipede. The way like a millipede's legs move, their ribs, they move the ribs like that. And they have like all the muscles that pull their ribs to help them grab their scoot scales on the ground and move forward. So it's interesting stuff. I could talk about this obviously for probably a whole week straight.
Is a Gila monster a reptile?
A Gila monster is a reptile, yes.
I pet one time in the wild, in the Mojave Desert, because it was like 29, 30 degrees. And it was just frozen. It couldn't move. So I went up there and I pet this Gila monster.
That's a good time to do it when it's 30 degrees out and they can't move. That's part of that ectothermicness is they can't, when they're cold, their body doesn't function. And they can't do anything. They literally become frozen.
They're magnificent.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I think they're cool.
Yeah, one time in the summer, it was one of those really hot days in Paso. In the evening, we had a snake that came into our house, the house where I grew up, and it was in the couch. It got lodged in between the cushion, and we saw it. It went through our porch door and went to the couch and we were watching it, and my mom and I are looking, and all of a sudden it sticks its head out. And it was the most scary thing. And I think we grabbed the cushion and we chased it out, and and my sister Faith wasn't home. So we were like, oh man, we're so glad Faith didn't see it, because she would probably never set foot in the living room, move out. She's terrified of snakes, and I could still see the snake coming out of the couch. It's like there's a snake in our couch. Like what? It was just
amazing.
It was a terrifying moment.
I had the same pet snake from when I was like 7 years old till I was in my early 20s, and it always escaped. And my mom always found it. She was always the one to find it. Like one time she found it in the washing machine, and for whatever reason that day she had let it run. Like she didn't think it did a good job rinsing the first time, so she ran it a second time and didn't see the snake until I actually like lifted it up and it came out like all.
Wow.
I think motaxis. That's one last nerd thing I'll say about snakes. That's why it goes into the couch cushion. Like if a snake doesn't like to be in open spaces, and they actually feel most comfortable when they're like snug as a bug in a rug. So if a snake got out in this room, it would look for like the darkest little tightest place that it could squeeze its body into it to feel safe.
Yeah, I've seen your snake shelves or boxes. They're really little, and I'm thinking like, how does it like to be in this little spot? But that's what they like. You'd think that like you see people in reptile stores, and there's like a big glass cage and rocks and trees the snake can get in, but they're okay living in a little.
If you give them a space that, like the last time that a snake got out in my room, which doesn't happen often, but every now and then if it's small or somebody, a kid leaves one of them open, that can happen. The last time one got out, I found it. You've seen my camera bag, it has all those little tiny pockets to fit like individual lenses and stuff. I found it inside one of those in one of the spots that it could barely squeeze into. Really? So they don't like being, depending on species too, but for the most part, regardless of species, they want to be in like a small dark pocket. And that's where they feel.
Are they only out in the open when they're trying to cool their bodies down? Like in the summer, you see them in the road and they're just.
That's definitely well, summertime is more, they're coming out that idea, that road temp at night, like when the temperatures dip back down, they definitely take advantage of the road laying on it, because that road, that asphalt stays warm as the day cools off, so they're kind of getting that last little bit of heat from the day. Yeah, definitely. That's out there to do that.
Wow. How many do you have? How many snakes?
A lot less than I used to. So right now I've got probably about 40 snakes.
Wow.
Which for people in the hobby that I'm in, it's considered a small amount.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
One of my buddies was the biggest breeder of reptiles in the United States at one point, and at his peak he had about 30,000.
Incredible. That's amazing.
Well, thank you, Brian. Awesome. You know your stuff when it comes to snakes. So yeah, comment if you had an encounter with a snake. Okay, and we'll talk about it.
People are usually either side of the thing. I will say that. And they're either like, I hate snakes, or I really like snakes. You'll find very few people in the middle.
Well, let's move to Nerd Out on Wine. I'm going to keep this section short. I recently met a Texas winemaker, Richard Lee is his name, and he's considering buying our Primitivo port because he's opening a tasting room in Texas. He doesn't have any dessert wine, and I had him taste the Primitivo port. He loved it, so he may be. We'll label it and put his label on it and so forth. And he sent me a newsletter about red wine can improve your well-being. I love talking about the health benefits of wine and how moderate red wine. So generally speaking, one glass of wine for women and 2 for men. Red wine is completely healthy. It contains polyphenols, resveratrol. And it's been linked to a lot of positive things. So you got your heart health, which it could raise your HDL, your good cholesterol, and lower your LDL, your bad cholesterol. It's also antioxidants. You guys have all heard about that. It's because it's rich in resveratrol and other antioxidant properties. It can reduce stress and inflammation. Cancer, antioxidants may reduce inflammation and the pathways that stem from cancer. It's also been linked recently to brain, that a moderate amount of wine can lower your risk of age-related cognitive decline. So a little bit of red wine can help you stay more alert as you age. So lots of good things with wine. Of course, we're talking about drinking wine in moderation, but a glass of red wine red wine is what you want to drink. If you're looking to get the health benefits of wine, red wine, because it's fermented on the skins, the grape skin of red wine is what produces all those health benefits. So, wine sometimes can get a bad rap, or just alcohol in general. There's a lot of negative news about alcohol, but there's also a lot of good things from having wine in moderation. Well, Pablo, we've got a couple questions. These were questions I wanted to get to last week, but the show went long, kind of like today. The show's going long, but that's okay. We had some questions that my wife was going to ask me that I skipped over. We had the kids here. We were having fun and trying to keep their attention for the long show. So go ahead and read. These are questions that I get from time to time, and that my wife would understand. So these are for you, Martha.
Okay. First question. What is the winemaker snack attack?
Yeah, I came up with this at one of my wife's wine events she was doing, where at nighttime, like after I have dinner, I just like to have walnuts, raisins, cheese, and crackers. That's like simple, and that combination of snacks tastes great with wine, red wine. So walnuts, raisins, you could do crackers, cheese, and ham or salami, something simple. So that's my winemaker snack.
You ever add any chocolate to that?
Yeah.
Dark chocolate.
Yep, definitely. That would work too.
Okay, question number 2. Are you ever going to make me my own label?
Well, this is Martha speaking. Yeah, we had this idea to do...
quote, wife wine.
Yeah, I liked wife wine. That would be cool. So yeah, my wife, when I met my wife, she did not know wine, did not taste wine, she didn't know if she liked it or didn't like it. She'd never really tried it. So over the years, she's gotten really into wine, and she likes Petite Syrah. She likes heavy wine. So I think if I make a label for my wife, it either has to be, maybe like a light-bodied white, something refreshing, which she also likes. But then she really loves like the heavy, dark chocolate flavored wine. So maybe we'll do that.
I don't know if this suggestion is from her. It says Paloma Blanc.
Paloma Blanc. Yeah, there's actually a Paloma winery in Napa that I discovered when I was researching this, which means dove in Spanish. Paloma. So I thought Paloma Blanc, that name's not taken, which would be kind of cool, but we'll think of something at some point.
I like wife wine a lot. There's too many good jokes that you can make with that one, man. Why don't you throw me a wife wine?
Well, we've got 4 wines to taste, you guys. We'll try to go through these quickly.
Oh,
We're going
wonderful.
to start with Sauvignon Blanc, Grenache, Cabernet, and then Petite Syrah. All right. This is our quick tasting.
Which, a side note, as you're getting the wine, I poured for the Festival Mosaic event at the Paso Robles Inn 2 Saturdays ago. And working with Truman, we suggested the Sauv Blanc for the salmon and our steak cab for the meat. And this was so well received.
Nice.
The Sauv Blanc. 2023?
2023. This wine received 91 points in Wine Enthusiast magazine. We have a section in our newsletter coming out January 1st about that. So
metal. We got some metal in there.
Floral. Beautiful floral note.
Yeah, Pablo, I know it's hard to go through a whole tasting in a short time, but can you just briefly say your the way you would pour a wine, conduct it, taste it with people, your approach to wine tasting?
I would just swirl it, get some air in there, release the notes, and first smell it to tell your brain this is what's coming. Open up your reception to what you're going to taste. And I spend a lot of time on the smell. I really do. Like to try to figure out what is in there.
Yeah, I always tell people that your nose is 90% of taste. So depending on...
That's why you can't taste anything if you got a stuffed up nose.
Yeah. And a lot of people are shy with their wine glass. They'll smell it from 2 feet away. No, you got to get your nose deep into the glass to really analyze. And
there's something I learned recently with whiskey tasting. I'm doing it with wine now too, where you stick your nose like at the bottom of the glass, and you get different notes at the bottom of the glass, and you go at the top of the glass.
Okay.
Yeah. I've experienced that.
It all has to do with oxidation and how the air is impacting the wine as you swirl it. But we've got our 5 S's of proper wine tasting, which is always fun to do. You got sight, swirl, sip, savor, spit. You are supposed to spit if you're conducting a large tasting and you're tasting wine after wine.
Because you can't taste it anymore if you're drunk.
Starts to impact your palate. Everything starts to taste the same. But this is a great wine to start a tasting off with. So these 4 wines are being poured right now at the tasting room, part of our December wine menu. And this wine is just easy drinking, lemon and grapefruit and
tropical
papaya. Yeah, very tropical, and got a nice balance of acid and crisp, refreshing taste to it.
Whiskey has like these kind of set, or I should say bourbon, like we'll say bourbon specifically, has like these kind of key notes, like whether it's vanilla or maple syrup, or there's these different like key notes that will be in there. Is that I assume that exists for wine.
Yeah, like with Sauv Blanc, for instance, a typical New Zealand Sauv Blanc can taste very grassy. You get and that's just because the climate and how it comes out down there. Then where like California Sauv Blanc, because of our climate, it's hotter, we get more riper tropical characteristics. So there's like, if you would just go off the shelf and buy a New Zealand Sauv Blanc and compare it to a California Sauv Blanc, you should taste those differences right away. One tasting green and grassy and one tasting more fruit.
Yeah, more driven. Citrus. Yeah, I think last year's it had a beautiful Meyer lemon note. So a little different variation every year.
Let's move to the Grenache, which I chilled.
That's
I'm one of those people who likes my red wines on the chilled side, and Grenache especially, I like it cold.
So can you specify like a temperature range for people watching?
Yeah, I like my red wines to be at barrel room temperature, because I'm tasting wine in the winery in the barrel room. So that's between 55 and 65 all the time. So I don't think red wines need to be colder than 55, but 55 degrees is great, especially for Grenache, which is so bright and acidic and tart and refreshing. But then you get, this has elements of the new oak barrel aging. So then you're going to get, some oak and grilled qualities to it, and you see it on screen. It's not a black, dark,
it's a
intense wine,
color.
But it's just like a nice brick red.
It looks like a ruby,
purpley red.
Yeah,
ruby.
That is a lovely color, and I pick up spice on the nose immediately.
Yeah, and this is a blend of our Grenache and Raphael's out there in San Miguel, on the west side of San Miguel, and I love working with his vineyard. I think, it's hard to say his vineyard or our vineyard's better. They produce different flavors, blending them together, you get that complexity. Then I always add a little bit of Petite Syrah to Grenache to give it more depth, structure, mouthfeel, tannins, ageability, all those fun things.
There's like clove on there.
Yeah, I picked that up too.
Yeah, usually Grenache is known to have cranberry, plum. Those are typical flavors to pick up, but depending on what yeast I use and how ripe the grapes were at harvest. But the 2023, the one we're drinking right now, which you'll have at the tasting room, is 15.6% alcohol. So this was the ripest Grenache grapes we've ever harvested back in 2023. So this one has a bigger finish because the higher alcohol really lingers and stays on your palate. So and getting it chilled, it will help to mask the alcohol effect. So if you have a red wine at home that's 16% alcohol or a high alcohol red wine, it does work. It is beneficial to chill it down to mask that heat that it would have at the end.
Just a thought, in the summertime, this would make a great sangria.
Without a doubt.
Although this is an award-winning Grenache, so
this Grenache, if you're talking about wine enthusiasts, the Sauv Blanc got 91. This got 94, which we've only had a few 94-point wines, so that was awesome.
But for a Grenache, for that varietal, that's it's rare to get one that high.
Pablo, can you pour us a little bit of Cab Reserve? We've got 2 left, so now we're moving to the heavier wines.
2022.
So I keep making whiskey references because I know whiskey well, but so when whiskey hits the bottle, it's done aging. which is definitely not the case with wine. Yeah, they like
Right.
the wine.
Yes, wine ages slowly in the bottle. That's good, Pablo.
Yep.
Yeah. You when you bottle wine, you capture it at that state that it's in, and then it will develop and change. But that's why using a cork versus a screw cap. If you use a cork, it's allowing more oxygen to penetrate, micro oxidation, so it will age further. If you use a screw cap, it really that's it. It shouldn't change much after it's been bottled. It does change, but
So this has 14% Petit Syrah.
yeah, this is from the Chivos Rose, which is behind the tasting room. A very low yielding Cabernet vineyard. We only get 1 to 2 tons per acre, so it's tiny berries, intense color, tannic. This is an ageable wine. People ask us all the time if they want to buy a wine and lay it down and come back to it in 10 years. This is a great candidate, 2022 Cab Reserve.
What makes a wine more ageable versus a wine that's not as ageable?
The level of tannins. If it's tannins, you'll feel that puckering on the side of your palate. It's astringent and bitter tasting. Like, you'll notice the Grenache didn't have much of that going on. This wine does.
So
This
why
wine
does that work well for aging?
Because tannins are an antioxidant. They're a phenolic. They're a natural occurring phenolic compound, aromatic benzene ring. And as the tannins age, you have short chain tannins and long chain tannins. And as the wine ages, the short chain tannins morph into long chain tannins, and then they fall out of solution. And that's when the wines taste smoother. So when they're short chain tannins, they're more, you get more grip and more bitterness on the side of your palate.
I'm tasting barbecue. I'm tasting
Oh,
candied plum. This is rich.
Yeah, this has that great combination of oak and fruit.
You got
Like
that
spice, oak, and toast, and then you get lots of dark
there's
fruit
like
characteristics.
Like, a date, like even a date in there. Like,
Yeah.
like a medjool date.
Ripe fruit. This is lovely.
February, one of the wines we're bottling is the 23 Cab Reserve, which that one we aged for 28 months in barrel, and that's 100% new oak. So I'm looking forward to that. This is the 22, which this wine's tasting great. I would buy this and drink this right now. It's a good
This
wine
is
for
turned the
Christmas.
corner. I tasted it a couple of months ago. It was still heavy on the tannin. This has turned the corner.
Yeah, and it's those World Cooperage barrels. So shout out to Carolyn and Cooperage 1912 World Cooperage. I can taste the World Cooperage. These are this is the Soleil American oak barrels, which really mimics a French barrel, and you just get that lingering chocolatey, dry, bittersweet chocolate taste that kind of just stays on your palate, and that's from that barrel. I've experienced that taste from that barrel over and over again.
Man, I'm so blown away at how different wines can be. These are wildly different from each other.
Oh yeah. That's what I love about the whole list of Sculpterra wines. There's something for every palate, and the wines are approachable for new wine drinkers. I went over people constantly in the tasting room that say, I'm not a red wine drinker. Oh, well, by the way, try this Grenache, try this Pinot, and all of a sudden they'll open their mind to accepting something new and different.
Well, we got one more. Petit Syrah, ending with the big, bad, bold, heavy, intense Petit Syrah.
Did you use the same barrels for aging this?
No, Petit Syrah, I'm a big fan of A.P. John's American punch-on barrels. So these are fermented and aged in the punch-on barrels, which these are very elegant barrels, but yet they provide a lot of power and toast and really blend well. Petit Syrah, this is also a 2022. This vintage is almost sold out. We're bottling the 23 also in February, so we're bottling both of these, but the next vintage, 2023. Petit Syrah. Yes, I've always said I think Paso Robles needs to develop a Petit Syrah festival. I don't think any other region in the world does Petit Syrah better than Paso.
I agree.
We've got the climate, the vineyards, the soils, the terroir, whatever you want to say. Petit Syrah thrives in Paso.
Man, that is like
We have
blood
locally a
color.
Cab Franc festival, which is new. So now, I would love to see a Petite Sirah Fest.
It'd be hard to do Petite Sirah Festival because after trying 2 or 3, your teeth are stained, your lips are purple, and they're very tannic and intense and powerful. And how many intense wines can you have one after another? But it could be done. Petite Sirah.
Petite Sirah, cheers.
Cheers. Oh man.
A tip for newer wine drinkers, on the big reds, we tend to drink wine like water. Let it sit on your back tongue, your back palate, and you'll get the fullness, the whole mouthfeel of a big red. Because if you just drink it like water, you're gonna get the fruit, some other notes, but you'll miss the fullness.
Yeah, I like showing people how we divide up the tongue into segments. You taste sweetness, or you don't taste, you sense. See, it's all about the tactile sensations. You sense sweetness on the front of your tongue. You get astringency and bitterness on the side of your tongues. You get alcohol on the back of your tongue. So that's why whiskey, Brian's talking about whiskey. When you drink whiskey and it's got that long finish that lasts forever, well, that's because the alcohol lingers on the back of your tongue. So the front of your tongue, if you sense it on the front of your tongue, it's probably sweet. You sense it more on the back, it's higher alcohol. On the side, astringency and bitterness. And it's the mid palate. That's what, as winemakers, we're always trying to achieve, is that mid palate. If the mid palate is pleasing and you can sense it in the middle, usually what people want. They want to have that mid palate experience where it lingers on their mid palate. It's not sweet, it's not sour, it's not tart, it's not astringent. It's just smooth and round and beautiful.
That's my favorite right there. This is like maraschino cherry.
Yes, this is lovely. Paul, I want to share how I talk to customers. As you taste 2 or 3 or 4, you start to relax and get to know each other as customers. And I call this storytelling juice, wine, because as you sit more with somebody, even a stranger, you start to share stories. No. And, great stories of life and so on. What are you celebrating? What's your plan for the next 5 years? Tell me about your kids. All the stories come out. And the stories are true. But speaking of whiskey, if you're drinking whiskey, maybe the stories aren't all true. or tequila. Maybe those stories aren't all true. But with wine, yes.
And then the vintages tell a story. Like when I'm tasting wine, I'm thinking, wow, the 2022 Petite Sirah, what happened in 22? Oh, yeah, that was the year the grapes struggled to get ripe. And we waited and waited and waited, and it was worth the wait. We had a heat spike in October that was perfect, and the grapes ripened up when we think they wouldn't. Things start to come back to memory, and like we're tasting a vintage. We've captured that year, that spot in time. So it's fun to do a vertical tasting, to try the same grape but different years. 21, 22, 23, 24.
That was my next question about what was a vertical tasting. I remember I was going through the emails and I was like, vertical tasting? Is that what you meant to put vertical tasting?
You could do a horizontal tasting, which would be like, say we're trying Cabernets, and we're trying like 6 Cabernets all from the same year, but from different blocks on the property. But a vertical tasting is, the same wine, different years. And you see a big difference in the years. So
I know I laughed about what you said there with the truth serum or whatever, but as I thought about it, there's a lot of truth to that.
Oh, the wine is just it connects people. There's something, it's almost like a sacred quality to enjoying a bottle of wine at dinner with people, or meeting strangers in a winery. It just mellows everybody out. Maybe that's what we need to do to lessen the polarization in our political environment today. Have the blue states and red states drink wine together.
I know I like this guy.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for staying with it for the whole show. Lots of fun. It was great having Pablo. Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, Brian. You guys are both welcome to come back, and I'm going to have you guys back. You guys do a great job. So thank you. Please remember, comment, like, subscribe. You can ask us any question. I love questions, technical questions, or just anything that pops in your mind about Sculpterra, about grape growing, winemaking. I'm just happy to do this. Thank you, Miguel, in the Paso Robles podcast studio, doing a fine job keeping this podcast going. We're bringing it to you every week. So next week, we've got Frankie and Noé coming in. So we have a different group. Be fun. We got lots of stories that we're going to share. I have a fun day planned. So thanks everybody. We'll be back soon.